Lane Kiffin hopes to be playing in this game next year, the national championship between Indiana and Miami, Monday night, a week from tonight, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Now, Heather Dinich will be there, but for the third consecutive year, Paul Finebaum will not be there. I won't get to break bread with him because, well, the SEC isn't playing in the national championship game again, Paul. And the Big Ten has a chance to three-peat. So has the Big Ten, in your estimation, have they now become the supreme power in college football?
Yes, Matt. And you know that, and Heather knows it, and I know it. And even though I'm sitting right now across the street from the SEC headquarters, they know it. There's no escaping what has happened. It has been one of the most dismal bowl seasons ever for the SEC, but where it really hurt was in the CFP. The only game the conference won other than against one another was against Tulane, and then they won a couple of games head-on-head. But the big games they lost, and that's why they're sitting home today.
Paul is absolutely right, but he said it out loud, so therefore it's true, and everyone in the SEC heard it. But I also think it's less of an indictment on the SEC and more of a statement about the reality of college football right now. It's very difficult not only to win the SEC, but to win the national title. And when you look at teams that have the money to spend on NIL, have the depth up front on the offensive and defensive lines to survive through January, it is more than Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. Right now we are talking about Indiana University. I mean, even in the SEC's own conference, you can go down to Vanderbilt and lose on any given day. So right. I think the landscape of college football has changed.
Yeah, look, I'll be the one that says that Indiana is the best team in the country. It's not even close. But when you stack up schedules every once in a while with what they go through in the regular season, to get to the postseason, they're a little bit healthier than a lot of these other schools. But, Paul, there's no doubt that Indiana is the most dominant team in the country. There's been comparisons going around now over the last couple of days after they thumped Alabama and what they did to Oregon over the weekend. Where do they rank in your mind going into the national championship of teams we've seen on this type of run?
Matt, they have a chance to be among the very best. And a week from today, we may declare them that. There are a couple of teams that come to mind when thinking about supreme. And I said it in 2019. I said it again the very next year. The LSU team with Joe Burrow was one of the most explosive, one of the most exciting teams I have ever seen. And, you know, there were so many amazing players, Jamar Chase, Burrow. I mean, the fact that Ed Ogeron didn't screw it up, maybe the biggest upset in college football history. But the very next year, we saw it again. There were 3 Heisman finalists playing for Alabama that year. Of course, it was spectacular to watch. That was Devontae Smith. So they could get there next week with a blowout of Miami.
I think that when we compare teams, we have to take Indiana in a different category because I agree with you. Personally, the 2019 LSU team is the best team I ever saw play. But this Indiana team doesn't have 5-star recruits up and down its lineup. It doesn't recruit like LSU did, or that 2001 Miami team laden with NFL players. These guys were 0 stars. Yeah. No one has done what Curt Cignetti is about to do, and that puts them in a space all by themselves. Our stats and information people told us just before the show that Yale in 1894 is the only other team to go 16-0. So they're on the brink of college football lore.
Yeah, Paul wrote about that when Yale did that. And by the way, to that end, when you're talking about the talent with these teams, Indiana, 8 combined 4-star and 5-stars on their team, 8 of them. Every other team in a college football playoff averaged 40. Oregon had 50, so it wasn't even close in terms of the rankings. What those mean, who knows? But we do know at least this year, 12-team college football playoff. Heather, there's always talk of expansion. You wrote about it yesterday. What can you tell us?
I can tell you that there is momentum for a 16-team field, but the Big Ten has leverage and is saying, you know what, I'll give you your 16-team playoff for 2 or 3 years if you agree, SEC, to a 24-team playoff. And agree is a very different word than consider. I think there are people in the room who would consider a 24-team playoff, but that requires everybody to get rid of their conference championship games, to reevaluate the calendar and everything else that goes along with that. So I asked people, sources, what is your gut feeling about what's going to happen next year? And they all said they think it's going to stay at 12 because they don't think the SEC and Big Ten commissioners can agree on this.
Yeah, and look, the SEC got 5 teams in this year. Not one of them is playing for the national championship. So rather than rush, keep it the way it is now until you have a concrete solution that might be good for the sport as a whole for once in the sport's history. Paul, go get you some cough drops, some echinacea, some tea. We'll catch up with you later in the week. What is Heather and the terrible towel?
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let them look right at you.